Just say it, man. Don't make me ask 20 questions.
What is the point?
Get to the point.
Just say it already.
Welcome to the Podcram. The following is a conversation with Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett on the Lex Fridman Podcast, number 129.
Your brain is using past experience. So it's remembering, but you're not consciously remembering. It's basically re-implementing prior experiences as a way of predicting what's going to happen next. Yeah. And it can do something called conceptual combination, which is it can take bits and pieces of the past and combine it in new ways. So you can experience and make sense of things that you've never encountered before because you've encountered something similar to them. And so a brain, in a sense, doesn't just contain information, it is information gaining, meaning it can create new information by this generative process. So in a sense, you could say, well, that maybe that's a source of free will. But I think really where free will comes from, or the kind of free will that I think is worth having a conversation about, involves cultivating experiences for yourself that change your internal model. When you were born and you were raised in a particular context, your brain wired itself to your surroundings, to your physical surroundings and also to your social surroundings. So you were handed an internal model, basically. But when you grow up, the more control you have over where you are and what you do, you can cultivate new experiences for yourself. And those new experiences can change your internal model. Your caregivers cultivated a model in your brain. You're not responsible for that model, but you are responsible for the one you have now. You choose what you expose yourself to. You choose how you spend your time. Not everybody has choice over everything, right, but everybody has a little bit of choice. What you can do is change your present, which becomes your past. You are continually cultivating your past as a means of controlling your future. The brain makes predictions about internal changes in the body first, and then it starts to prepare motor action. And then it makes a prediction about what you will see and hear and feel based on those actions. You have a brain so that it can control your body. Didn't evolve for you to see. They didn't evolve for you to hear. They didn't evolve for you to feel. They evolved to control your body. That's why you have a brain. The scientific term for predictively controlling your body is allostasis. Your brain is attempting to anticipate the needs of your body and meet those needs before they arise so that you can act as you need to act. The metaphor that I use is a body budget. You know, your brain is running a budget for your body. It's not budgeting money, it's budgeting glucose and salt and water. And instead of having, one or two bank accounts, it has gazillions. There are all these systems in your body that have to be kept in balance. And it's monitoring very closely. It's making predictions about when is it good to spend and when is it good to save and what would be a good investment and am I going to get a return on my investment? Whenever people talk about reward or reward prediction error or anything to do with reward or punishment, they're talking about the body budget. They're talking about your brain's predictions about whether or not there will be a deposit or withdrawal. So when your brain is running a deficit in your body budgets, you have some kind of metabolic imbalance, you experience that as discomfort. You experience that as distress. When things are chaotic, you can't predict what's going to happen next. So I have this absolutely brilliant scientist working in my lab. His name is Jordan Theriault, and he's published this really terrific paper on a sense of should. Why do we have social rules? Why do we adhere to social norms? It's because if I make myself predictable to you, then you are predictable to me. And if you're predictable to me, that's good because that is less metabolically expensive for me. Novelty or unpredictability at the extreme is expensive. And if it goes on for long enough, what happens is, first of all, you will feel really jittery and antsy, which we describe as anxiety. Mm-hmm. It isn't necessarily anxiety. It could be just something is not predictable and you are experiencing arousal because the chemicals that help you learn increase your feeling of arousal, basically. Mm-hmm. But if it goes on for long enough, you will become depleted and you will start to feel really, really, really distressed. So what we have is a culture full of people, their body budgets are just decimated. Yeah. And there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty. when you talk about it as depression, anxiety, it makes you think that it's not about your metabolism, that it's not about your body budgeting, that it's not about getting enough sleep or about eating well or about making sure that you have social connections. You think that it's something separate from that. But depression and anxiety are just a way of being in the world when things aren't quite right with your predictions.
That's such a deep way of thinking. Like the brain is maintaining homeostasis.
It's actually allostasis.
Allostasis, I'm sorry. And it's constantly making predictions, and metabolically speaking, it's very costly to make novel, like constantly be learning, to making adjustments. And then over time, there's a cost to be paid if you're just in a place of chaos where there's constant need for adjusting and learning and experience novel things.
And so part of the problem here, there are a couple of things. Like I said, it's a perfect storm. There isn't a single cause.
Right.
There are multiple causes, multiple things that combine together. It's a complex system, multiple things. Part of it is that people are metabolically encumbered and they're distressed. And in order to try to have empathy for someone who is very much unlike you, you have to forage for information, explore information that is novel to you and unexpected. And that's expensive. What do you do when you are running a deficit in your bank account? You stop spending. What does it mean for a brain to stop spending? It stops moving the body and it stops learning. It just goes with its internal model.
Brilliantly put, yep.
So to have empathy for someone who is unlike you requires learning and practice. You're foraging for information. It's hard for people to be curious about views that are unlike their own when they feel so encumbered.
Thanks for listening to this installment of The Podcram. I hope it contains something useful for you. If you enjoy these selections and are curious about the curator's own thoughts, you can check out my other podcast, Psychic Lube, where I share concise concepts meant to grease the intellectual gears and help get your creative juices flowing. Each episode is an ongoing collaborative project that welcomes listeners to expand or rebut its points by email or comment, the most interesting of which get incorporated through periodic re-recordings. As always, if you're intrigued by today's content, I encourage you to go listen to the full podcast in its original form directly from its creators so that their sponsors keep paying them to make stuff for us and nobody feels compelled to sue me for copyright infringement. Now, get off your phone and go do smart stuff. Have a productive day.